Obviously, you guys know why I'm so excited. You guys know why I'm so happy. You must know why I'm so happy. You must know. And in case you don't know, United beat Atletico Bilbao 4-1 at home. 4-1 at home to secure our place in the final of the Europa League versus Spurs. I am so freaking happy. I was one of those fans, and I still will be one of those fans, who was very much in the camp of trophies aren't going to save the season. It's been an abysmal season. We're probably going to end up finishing 15th, 16th, 17th or something position in the league, which I think is deplorable. But one thing this Europa League run has done has provided us all, myself included, with a much needed distraction from our terrible league and domestic form. It's been quite nice to play in a competition where we don't look like we are second best. We don't look like we don't get bullied all the time. We look like we're a threat. Our players look like they enjoy themselves, and we sometimes score some goals. I'm not going to lie. Even though this Europa League run is not going to save the season, it doesn't make everything okay in terms of how we've been performing. It doesn't excuse Ineos's, haphazard, lackadaisical, whatever approach to saving this season, because part of me still needs answers as to why we pulled Amorim out of his deal at Sporting Lisbon mid-season to come to United, paid whatever the compensation fee was. I think it was 9 million or something like that to get him out of the deal for Sporting, only to bring him to the club and not allow him to sign the players that he needs to play the system that he likes to play. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you get somebody in mid-season if you're not going to give them all the tools that they need to succeed? I don't get that. So it seemed a bit hasty to kind of get him in, sack the previous manager, and I don't know, it was all over the place. But regardless of that, and there's a lot to be said for Amorim's inability to maybe get acquainted with the league, get up to speed with the league. Maybe he underestimated how hard the Premier League will be. Maybe we as United fans overestimate how good these players are. But either way, the league form, the league season has been pretty diabolical. But the Europa League has been a nice distraction. I'm not going to lie. And it's an even better reward at the end, because if we win the Europa League, we then get to play the Champions League next season. I personally don't want to see that, especially after seeing these semi-final second legs, or just the semi-finals in general. I think the level of the Champions League is very high, and we are nowhere near it. And I would hate us to go into that sort of competition without any hope of winning it, and also getting clapped by like smaller teams. It's not really gonna do us a world of confidence, but the club needs it, the team needs it, you probably need it for transfers, so I guess it is what it is. But going back to this game, I think we started pretty poorly, which is understandable, because we already had a 3-goal lead because of the first leg. It was all on Athletic Bilbao to kind of put the game to us, which they did. They were out with some of their star players, notably the Williams brothers, who were both out, I think injured, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one of them was suspended, I'm not really too sure. But they were missing a lot of firepower, but they still were able to put a lot of pressure on us, which is really concerning to see. But I wasn't too worried, because I knew the players in the back of their heads knew that we were up 3 goals, and it wasn't likely that they were going to score 2 goals without reply. So we would always be a little bit ahead. But I still wanted to see a good performance, because I think, a good performance in the second leg of a semi-final can really help the confidence going into the final, especially considering how poor we've been during the season. So when the goal went in the first half, it felt like a bit of a gut punch, but Athletic Bilbao also were, in control of the game at that point. They were the ones really trying to dictate things. They didn't want to have the lion's share of possession. So I wasn't too surprised when it happened. But I was hoping for a reaction in the second half. And boy, did we get a reaction in the second half. We scored 4 goals in the second half. That was a fucking big reaction. And the game completely changed, in my personal opinion. It completely flips on its head the moment Amad Diallo came onto that pitch. Amad Diallo, and maybe to a lesser extent the introduction of Mason Mount, really, I think, changed the game. But Amad Diallo, man, every time I see that kid play football, every time I see Amad Diallo get on the ball, the first thing I think about is Erik ten Hag. The first thing I think about when I see Amad Diallo get on the ball is that bald fraud. That bald flipping fraud of a manager. And why do I think that? Because there was a time when Erik ten Hag was at the club where he was seriously considering selling Amad Diallo. he was going to sell him. And he's legitimately one of our best players. He's literally our savior. He's probably more important to us as a team than Bruno Fernandes because he gives us a bit of X factor. He's that little bit of quality. He's got that burst of pace. He's got that acceleration, that tenacity, the dribbling speed, the ability to fucking shoot with both feet. Like, he's just a threat every time he gets the ball, and the quality that he has is just, it's incredible. Really fucking good to see him back from injury and obviously getting a few more minutes. Maybe this means in the final he starts. I'm not too sure. Maybe bringing him on for the bench might be a good option too, to have a little bit of firepower if we're struggling to score a goal. But he was really flipping good, and he completely turned the tide of the game for us. And you have to give a special shout out to Mason Mount. Mason Mount needs to get a special shout out because he's had a pretty terrible time at United. He had a pretty terrible time towards the end, tail end of his time at Chelsea anyway. But he's been pretty lackadaisical, pretty shit. Pretty underwhelming, and definitely somebody that a lot of fans, myself included, have been wondering why we wasted so much money on a player like Mason Mount, and also wondering how we're going to get rid of a player like Mason Mount, because English players, when you buy them for that amount, you essentially kind of doom yourself to having them at your club for years and years and years. It's really difficult to sell an English player of his sort of, transfer fee level to another club. You know what I mean? No one's going to take those wages, so you kind of have to just make it work. But from the moment Amorim came into the club, he's always said Mason Mount's his guy. For whatever reason, Ruben Amorim saw something in training. Maybe it's his attitude. Maybe it's what he said to him. I don't know what it is. But for whatever reason, Ruben Amorim has always had a lot of faith in that Mason Mount. He's always came out in press conferences and spoken very confidently about Mason Mount and about how important he is to the club, how important he is to his squad, which confused me, to be honest. But Mason Mount paid him back in full. He paid him back in full because that was one of the best performances, best cameos I've seen from Mason Mount ever since he signed for the club. Because usually when he comes and plays, when he comes off from the bench for us, the first thing he does is foul. For whatever reason. The first thing he does when he comes on the pitch for us is foul somebody. But this particular time when he came on the pitch, he was buzzing around, picking up the ball, little 1-2s in the pocket, running off the ball, receiving the ball in nice little areas of space where he could kind of affect the game and kind of break the lines and feed the balls in. And then when his goal came, that reminded me of like the goal Mano scored, a goal that Federico Makeda scored back in the day. I think Danny Welbeck scored a goal like that as well back in the day. United players love a good, little Cruyff turn flick and a bend in the bottom corner. I'm not sure why, but us players obviously from my club, love that finish. And that finish from Mason Mount, that was pure muscle memory, being able to finish that, because I'm sure I've seen him also shoot like that and have that particular kind of skill playing for Chelsea too. So that was incredible to see. And it's really, really cool how quickly or how instant a goal can change a player's confidence. Because in my personal opinion, I thought when he came on, he looked pretty good. He didn't, like I said, he didn't foul anybody, and he was picking up the ball in space, commanding the ball, asking for the ball in all these places around the pitch, really trying to make his presence felt. But as soon as Mason Mount scored that first goal, he completely changed as a player. He was on fire. Like, he was buzzing all over the place. He had the confidence to do certain flicks. I think there was a certain counter-attack that he kind of backheeled it out to the wings again. Like, he looked like he was on fire. So it really does go to show you that goals can really completely change a player's kind of, approach to a game. So that was incredible to see. I really enjoyed Casemiro's header as well, even though it came off his shoulder. It's great how much of an aerial threat he is for us on free kicks. Rasmus Højlund, I was really happy that he got that goal. I think I tweeted before he had that goal that a perfect performance for us would be if Rasmus gets on the score sheet too, to kind of give him some confidence as well going into the final. And the Rasmus Højlund goal, to be fair, represents to me one of the big problems playing for United, because I don't feel like, as bad as Rasmus Højlund has been, maybe as underwhelming as Zerski has been even going up front, all our strikers have been pretty shit this season. As bad as our strikers have been this season, you have to be honest. A lot of our strikers don't really get that kind of service. They match, game by game. They don't really get it. That sort of service where the ball just gets crossed, into the box where you can kind of tap it in as a striker. They don't get those kind of chances. So whenever people criticize Højlund, I think to myself, it's not as if he's missing clear-cut chances every game. Maybe some of his hold-up plays isn't the best. Maybe he's not kind of, making his presence felt on the pitch. But I don't feel like as a striker, he's really missing, even Zersky, they're missing a lot of clear-cut chances. If anything, both strikers are missing the chances where they have to kind of drop a shoulder, they have to skip past two defenders and then smash it, and they maybe kick it right into the fucking keeper's hands or something. That's obviously, still not ideal, but it isn't the kind of chance that Højlund got, that he scored from. And I wish our strikers got more of that kind of service, because I think we'll see a different kind of side of them. Regardless, he put the ball in the net. That was the most important thing. And obviously, the celebration with Amad Diallo with the smartphone was fucking sick. But the goal at the end from Mason Mount, again, look what a goal can do for the confidence of a player. Because I don't think Mason Mount prior to this game would have had the confidence to have gone for that fucking lob from the halfway line or near the halfway of the pitch. He wouldn't have done that. He would have probably tried to pass it inside and go to somebody else. But the fact that he already has scored a goal, he was doing a couple of flicks and tricks, he was making himself known on the pitch, he was getting the position, blah, 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 blah. He probably felt a lot of confidence and decided to go for it. And he expertly drilled it into the goal, which you don't really see them too often. Usually those type of goals, they float the ball over the goalkeeper and defenders. But this one, he kind of went for a drill technique with his left foot, if I'm not mistaken. And it nestled into the net. And we ended up winning the game 4-1. So it started off pretty shaky. Bilbao were dominating large spells of that first half. The goal that they got in the first half was not against a run of play. They were really dominating us, I think, for the majority of the first half. And that goal was really good. Even though I was annoyed at Onana for not being able to save it, I thought that goal from, what's his name, Jurizaj, was incredible. Almost like curled it, basically top bins from like 30 yards. Crazy goal. I wasn't too happy about Maguire giving away the ball, but again, I felt the pressure they put on us. It was about time that they were going to score a goal. But we responded amazingly well in the second half. 4 goals without reply, and then it comfortably put us into the finals of the Europa League, which I'm really looking forward to. And like I said, the Europa League is not going to erase or fix this season. This season has been horrible. 16th in the league, not acceptable. But it's going to go a long way to kind of distract us from how poor the season has been, and hopefully give the players some confidence heading into the next season, But there's still a lot of gaps needed, to kind of sort out in a team and things to do. But for now, looking forward to a league final, a Europa League final, or European Cup final, and a chance to win a trophy, and a chance to just finish the season on a bit of a high after this disastrous league season. So really happy with the performance, really happy for the lads. Can't wait for the final. It's going to be a tough one against Spurs because they beat us, I think, a couple of times this season already. They seem to have a little bit of the hoodoo over us, so it's not going to be an easy game. And as I said previously, we've shone in the Europa League because European football is way slower. It's not as physical as the Premier League. And we've obviously struggled in the Premier League against sides like Tottenham, who can kind of press, and they've got the physicality because our players don't really sort of have that, don't know how to deal with that sort of thing. So it's going to be an interesting test for us. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a very, very difficult game. It's going to be a close game, and I'm really looking forward to it. So big up, Blood Clot United.